Hey, Chitarin. As always, you're much faster than Twitch loading for me. Yeah, it seems we're fine. There we go. All good. Hey, Bear. Hey, hey. Thank you for your patience. And let's just jump in. Pink? Yeah, it's pink. Light pink. Alright. There are 3 things in life that bring me a small but palpable pleasure. Okay. Crispy chicken eaten in the middle of the night. The moment I hit upon a conceited opponent's weakness. Okay. And reading a favorite book on a clear, quiet afternoon. Right now I'm lying back on my bed reading The Black Dahlia by James Ellroy. I've read it once before, but I've been meaning to reread it since Sister Basket became my teacher. The book is based on the true story of the Black Dahlia murder case. Right, Sister Dahlia inspires you to read about a murder case. Interesting. Along with a basic plot that draws inspiration from contemporary records of the murder, it includes detailed conjectures based on a huge amount of research and an elaborate psychological profile. All of that in combination might have resulted in information overload, but it's actually a quick and easy read thanks to the author's clear prose. I'm flipping through the pages completely lost in the story. From time to time, a faint breeze wafts across from the slightly ajar window and brushes my cheek. Oh, hey, yeah. Hi, how's it going? It's just me and my book. And then the sun's rays illuminating the warm room and the clean scent of freshly laundered sheets. Together they envelop me, keeping me from feeling too alone. A palpable pleasure. I'm eagerly flipping through the pages as each new mystery is uncovered when the intimate atmosphere is shattered by the sound of the door opening. The intruder comes stomping over to the bed.
おい、何のつもりだ？何のつもり？あなたこそ何のつもりなの？質問を質問で返すなよ。今はささやかな幸せを満喫していたんだぞ。私のささやかな幸せを壊したくせに。
I stare at her, startled by her retort. Without a word, she helps me into my wheelchair.
おい。
What's happening?
昨日のことよ。は
ぁ？
呆れた。忘れてしまったの？昨日約束したでしょ？放課後合唱部に伺うって。
Her behavior finally clicks, and I nod in understanding.
確かに約束してたな。そうよ。放課後約束していたから行こうと思ったら、まさか部屋に戻ってのんきに本なんて読んでいるなんてね。私が何やってたっていいだろう。っていうか、約束したのはお前だけだろうが、一人で行ってこいよ。場所。あ？
She doesn't know.
合唱部が活動している場所を知らないわ。聖堂だよ。
I'm on the verge of telling her to just go on her own again, but faced with a genuine look of annoyance this time, I swallow my words. Well, I am the one who lied to get her to come with me yesterday. Perhaps I do have a bit of a responsibility here.
わかったよ。案内する。
I indicate for her to take the handles of my chair.
私は一切歌わないからな。
Hey, Yurizri, how's it going? I warn her in advance. You came. Komikado-senpai dashes over to us with a welcoming smile. The way she trots along, light-footed but deeply earnest all the time, reminds me of a cute little Dachshund. I don't know how to read that. It's a dog, right? I'm sorry. I will not attempt that again. It's fine.
どうされたの？私の顔に何かついているかしら？
いいえ、思い出し笑いです。
I try to reassure her as she pats at her face and hair. Yeah, I think so too. Also, hi, Javeliner? I hope I'm saying that right.
さあ、でも来てくれて嬉しいわ。
I can't stop my mouth from twitching again at the sight of her brilliant smile. You can almost see the tail wagging behind her. Dax. Okay, I believe you, Bea, but clearly your trust in me is misplaced because I can't do it. I'll Google it after the stream. I'll have Google Translate just say it to me over and over again. I clear my throat to bring myself back under control.
よろしくお願いします。高崎が。
Takasaki narrows her eyes and looks around the chapel disdainfully.
八重垣さんも見学していってね。気に入ればぜひ入部してほしいわ。
She's poaching for people left and right.
考えておきます。
それでは説明は。あ、そうだわ。
She clasps her hands together, blinking her celadon eyes, and calls out to a girl staring in her direction. She comes over to us, looking
何でし
confused.
ょうか。
That's Rika, right? It's been a while, but we've ended up face to face with, yeah, our class president. Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for being here. Whenever you have the chance and the time, it's not a problem. And if you ever want to catch up, the VODs are there. So, all good, all good.
八重垣さんと高崎さんに部の案内をお願いできるかしら。私よりも同じクラスの花火師さんの方が気が受けずに話せると思うのだけど、ダメ？
Who could possibly resist a request from such a cute little... dog. I'll just say dog.
はい。
She has no choice but to nod reluctantly.
合唱部の活動はこんな感じよ。へえ。思ったよりも規則だって練習してるんだな。
Thank you for taking the time.
ボーカルレッスンもしているのかしら。
The president's brow furrows. She's clearly troubled by Takasaki's question. Why is that troubling?
他に何か質問はあるかしら。
She turns to me.
こいつも不器用だからな。
Though she apologized to me for treating Takasaki like the culprit behind that whole business with the baby rabbits. She still won't talk to Takasaki herself, perhaps because she's not quite sure yet how to feel about her. Actually, in avoiding Takasaki, she's also been turning her back on me quite a bit lately.
質問ね。
Hey, Mat-chan! How are
実はこ
you?
こ最近胸を痛めていることがあるんだけどさ。そんな深い悩みがあるなんて早く相談してくれればいいのに。それじゃあ相談だがね、前は部屋に遊びに来たりお茶会だなんだと誘ってくれたりした相手が私を無視してるんだよ。
The eyes are super effective, I guess so. I'm happy to hear that. And I hope the rest eventually works out.
今じゃ電話も手紙もクッキーすら送ってきやしない。もしかして嫌われたのかね。なあ委員長。意地悪しないで。悪かったと思っているわ。
She squeezes her hands together in front of her chest, looking crestfallen. Seeing tears well up in her big round eyes behind her glasses, I hurriedly grab at the hem of her pleated skirt.
冗談だって。そう真に受けるなよ。こいつが部屋にいたら来づらいってのは分かってるからさ。私が？
I know I'm the one who brought it up, but I hadn't realized just how trying it would be. Just how trying it would be to deal simultaneously with both someone so oblivious and someone so hyper attentive. Ah, that's true.
私がいるとなぜ部屋に来にくいの？
She's cool, but she's so dense when it comes to social cues. She seriously doesn't get it. I sigh and tell her. Because the president and I have a special sort of relationship. Because she treated you like a criminal before. I guess it would be the second, right? I don't think we would make this joke now, right? Right? Oh my god, no, that's the one. Oh, why?
お前は本当に空気が読めないな。空気？
Special, yeah. Deciding to blow a little smoke over the real issue at hand, I lightly pat the president's creamy thigh a few times.
私と委員長は深い仲ってやつなのさ。部屋にお前がいるとやりにくいだろ。
Oh yeah.
なるほど。
She just takes it. She accepts it. Face value.
何鳩が豆鉄砲を食らったような顔してるんだよ。高崎に言ってやれ。お前が部屋に来るまでは蜜月だったって。何を言っているの？八重垣さん、私たちは確かに照れているわね。だろう？これが普通の反応ってやつだ。お前も見習えよ。
Did she pinch her bum or something? Whenever characters react like that, I will forever suspect Leon being around and pinching everyone's bums. She lets out a strange squeak as I move up her thigh and pat near her bottom. Komikado-senpai glances over at us from where she's instructing the other club members. Chidori, a classic historian, doesn't even question it. Oh gosh. No, this is so much. She snaps at me angrily, her face bright red. As you'd expect of her, I guess.
冗談だよ。嫌われてるかもしれないって気にしてるってのもさ。でも、お茶会に呼ばれなかったのを残念に思っているのは本当だぜ。
But this was Erika doing it to Rika, so that's possible.
私は委員長の入れる紅茶が気に入ってるんだ。だからお見限りってのはなしにしてくれ。そうね。今度入れるわね。
活動の説明は終わりましたか？
はい。
そう。仲直りできてよかった。いえ。高崎さん、これからみんなで斉唱するの。ぜひ参加を。
Erika. Erika. A good one. Very good one.
読書は聞けないのですか？
はい。
部の長の読書を聞いてみたいのですが。
With her typical obliviousness, she asks Komikado-senpai to sing for her. The gazes of the other club members grow visibly sharper. Now I want this Erika to talk about chopsticks. What? Why?
そうね。
What am I
久し
missing?
ぶりに読書をするのもいいわね。
Komikado-senpai herself doesn't seem to mind. She speaks to the pianist, asking her for an accompaniment. And which song does she start to play?
トータプルクラ。
Of course, that same one. The song from that day. The one that always recalls the Feast of the Assumption.
そう。 この曲を高坂真由里が歌ったのね。
She murmurs the name of the girl who disappeared.
そして伴奏者は白羽スオ。
The president's eyes harden at her muttered words. Perhaps she's wary of Takasaki saying something she doesn't want to hear. Or perhaps...
用意ができました。八重垣さん、高崎さん、こちらへどうぞ。
Her clear voice resounds through the chapel, breaking the tense mood. I tap my Amitia partner on the hip and move toward where Komikado-senpai is waiting up on the stage. In the end, Takasaki doesn't join the choir club. Neri Nekomikado's haunting rendition of the Tota Pulchraes, I have no idea how to read that, I will never know, made all the secret vulnerabilities of my soul just ache. Yeah. Why couldn't we hear a little bit? She's so cute, I want to see, well, not see, but I want to hear her voice singing. It resonated with me so much that I'd almost certainly have joined the choir club myself, had I heard it before turning into such a hopeless cynic. But even after hearing that, when Komikado-senpai asked if she'd be joining the club at the end of our visit, it's not the kind of singing I'm aiming for. That's how Takasaki responded. Komikado-senpai just smiled her gentle smile and nodded, as though she had expected Takasaki to answer as such.
あなたは一人の心を動かしたいのね。
That's what she'd said at the time. Interesting. I don't know what she saw in Takasaki.
私には歌はよくわからない。
Interesting. Oh, she's singing again. As I'm lying in bed, I hear the faint sound of singing drifting in through the open window, like the distant warble of birds. It's nice. Somewhat sad, though.
子守歌みたいだ。
As the sound whispers pleasantly into my ears, I close my eyes and fall back to sleep, still adrift in my morning languor. I wish we could have heard a bit more. Okay, what's happening? At Sister Basket's request, I'd tried to ingratiate Takasaki to the class, but the end of term examinations are upon us.
ねえ、そうちゃん、これってどういう意味？ちょっといちごね、先に質問していたのは私ですよ。
二人ともまだ休み時間は残っているから。
Shirahane smiles under the twins' this barrage of questions. She looks both a little put out and at the same time like she's really enjoying herself. Perhaps she likes having others rely on her. On the other hand, the president, who's best suited to helping people out with studying and stuff.
ちょっと順番ですから。だから押さないで。
is about as popular as the real president right now.
実際、白羽と委員長の学力はそう違わないんだが。
She's like a flower on a lofty peak, somewhere just beyond reach. Or rather, it can seem as though she'll wilt at the softest of touches. Because Shirahane is so hard to approach, the only ones who go to her for help are the Sasaki sisters.
こっちは絶対値と正負の数の大小。正の数でも負の数でもない数を答えよ。
Oh, come on. You can't be struggling with that. My amitié is scribbling furiously and muttering to herself. Of course, there's no one else around. She's sticking with self-study.
まあ、そりゃ私も同じだけどさ。
Seeing all my classmates knuckling down, I don't really feel like I have a choice.
試験がダメだったら安息日が丸々補習になるって聞いちゃね。
We also have Saturdays off, but since we have chapel all morning, it essentially works out to a half day. The only full day off we have is Sunday, the Sabbath.
一とは何か私が知りたいわよ。
Oh, come on. What kind of teacher do they have if this is the thing they're struggling with? The threat of those precious days off being lost to supplementary classes is enough to make even me get serious. I approach Takasaki, who's glaring down at her textbook with narrowed eyes, and peer at the notes she's scribbling.
絶対値。今さらお前。何？いや、仕事で忙しかったろうしな。
Watching my media partner stumble at the very first step, I end up showing her a bit of sympathy. Takasaki is glaring daggers.
余裕そうね。
She mutters.
本の虫だからな。ご多分に漏れず、勉強はそこそこできる方だよ。3番って。ああ、花火師白羽の次くらいだよ。数学をやってんのか？なら委員長に教えてもらえ。あいつ理数系が得意だからな。
Wait, how does this make sense? You are third best in the class. You are her amitié partner and her roommate, right? Meanwhile, over there, Rika is almost being assaulted by everyone. And she doesn't have the chance to answer everybody because there's only so much of her and so much of a break and so many of them. And then you also send Chidori there? Why couldn't you explain to her if you're the third best in the class? You have some grasp of math, right? Oh, sorry. Her eyes take on a hint of fear at my proposal. She rubs at them, then shakes her head slightly.
花火師さんは私に苦手意識を持っている。差し向かいで教えてもらえるわけがないわ。少しは相手が見えるようになったんだな。だが委員長は性善説の人だからな。頼めばうなずいてくれるだろうよ。性善説
Also third best at pushing off duties. I have to contradict you. I think there she is the absolute best. She gets hung up on the strangest things. Despite a bit of grumbling about her lack of understanding, I start to explain.
もう知っておっさんが人間の本性は基本的に善であるって決めたんだよ。儒教の中心概念。へえって興味ないのかよ。お前が聞いたんだろうが。もう一つ対になるのが性悪説。荀子が唱えた。人の性は悪なりってさ。そう。私は荀子の方に一票だわ。
She butts in with her thoughts before I can finish my explanation. Well, I suppose I'm on his side, too.
だから委員長に。
I glance over in her direction. It looks like it will be difficult to break through the wall of people surrounding her.
ま、独学で学んだ方が早そうか。ええ、だから邪魔しないで。
She dismisses me and goes back to glaring down at her textbook.
面倒くさい空気を部屋に持ち込まなければ何も言わねえよ。
I give her a clear warning. Oh my god, but she comes back in the same maddening mood. Of course she does.
なあ。なあ、おい。何？今昼食中だぞ。教科書なんて無粋なものは持つな。
The only time I get to choose my food, in any real sense, is lunchtime. I want boring things like... Sorry, I don't want boring things like schoolwork intruding on my fun time. Yeah, that looks absolutely fantastic. Ay ay. Ay ay ay.
放っておいて。お前はつまらない教科書を開いてつまらないサラダを食ってるんだからいいけどな。こっちは久しぶりの天ぷらなんだ。楽しみたいんだよ。
Fried in tempura batter and spread before me are shrimp, white fish, green beans, and a shrimp and onion fritter, as well as miso soup and pickled vegetables. Oh god. There's also a glistening mound of white rice. It's a real feast. I don't want it to be ruined by her gloomy attitude.
あなたはあなたで勝手に食べればいいでしょ。
I didn't know you could even make tempura out of green beans. I think that's one thing I had not seen before.
お前有名な言葉を知らないのか？何を食べるかじゃなく、誰と食べるかだ。陰気のやつと食べたら何食っても美味しくなくなるぜ。
I throw this back at her and reach for the fish tempura. First, I want to savor it without any condiments like salt or dipping sauce. The crispy coating, which is just the right thickness, crunches appealingly as I bite into it. I'm so sorry, Bear. I suffer it just as much as you are. Yeah, a mouth-watering smell wafts up towards my nostrils. They're really good at talking or displaying food. Really good. To the point where Bear and I are hungry every stream. It's just a staple of it at this point. Gotta work through it. I savor the complementary texture of the batter. Fried to perfection. The soft, flaky fish. The sweet taste of it all. It's absolute bliss.
いや悪い。やっぱり何を食べるかが重要だ。美味しそうじゃない。
She's eyeing up my tray of food enviously. With great reluctance, I pick up a shrimp and dip it in a little matcha salt. Matcha salt? I had no idea that was a thing. Oh my god, I wonder how that tastes. And hold it out to her. My amitié partner bites into it without a word, nor any hesitation.
これ美味しいわね。
Although I'm used to it by now, I still feel a bit embarrassed about feeding her like this. There's something sensual about the movement of her crimson-stained lips when she eats.
しかもエビだしな。フランクフルトなら。いや、マッチョイズム的すぎるか。
Is she talking about a sausage? The image makes me grin. Takasaki looks at me suspiciously but goes ahead and gets out her notebook. She quickly jots down her personal thoughts.
お気に召したようだな。なんだ、天ぷらも食ったことないのかよ。確かに油はスタイル維持の天敵かもしれないけどさ。あるわ。ただ、前に食べたものより美味しかったから加えたのよ。
Excellent choice, Moth-chan. Perfect timing. She stops writing and tilts her head. Munching on a pickle to cleanse my palate, I ask her what's the matter.
今食べたものだけど、それって洋食?
I'd known she was indifferent when it came to food, but this is such a ridiculous question that for a moment I just stare at her in amazement.
はあ? お前バカじゃねえの？洋食なわけないだろ。どうやったら勘違いできるんだよ。
Why is this a funny thing? I don't get it.
そう、違うのね。
She doesn't usually eat it, and she wanted to know exactly what it's called, and maybe she tried to recall something and she got it wrong. What's so bad about it?
当たり前だっての。洋食って和食に決まってるだろうがよ。
Okay, the issue was the... Okay.
勘違いだわ。私は洋食か聞いたの。もうやめろって。
Erika could use a little bit more empathy.
笑うのをやめて。やめなさい。
Takasaki is glaring at me, her face flushed with embarrassment. Not that I know why she always squints like that, though I can pretty much brush it off.
勝手に笑ってなさい。お前それは虎の子だぞ。
My shrimp and onion fritter crunches satisfyingly between her teeth as she bites into it. Good, Chidori, good. That sound alone is enough to get anyone drooling. We don't even need the sound, do we, Bear?
あまり桜エビは好きな味ではないわね。食い物の恨みは恐ろしいって言葉を知らないのか。
Takasaki closes her notebooks. Spears one portion of the boiled egg quarter on her plate and holds it out to me to eat. Ah, spears, you mean with the fork or chop? She has a fork in her hand, okay. I guess she means to reciprocate. Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute.
食べさせるのはよくても、逆は。
I'm averse to being doted upon. In moments like these, speed is key. Once you start overthinking it...
そう、卵は嫌いなの。
She abruptly pops it into her own mouth. She takes a sip of water. Sorry, as she takes a sip of water, I try to calm my pulse, which is really racing for some reason.
あなたはテスト勉強はしなくていいの？
You know, I understand multitasking and I understand the pressure and the fact that you feel like you need to make every second of your time productive, particularly in like an exam period, when you're going to school or university and stuff like that. But I really believe that it is counterproductive to be like that, because if you are doing these two things at the same time, you're not doing either of them properly. So you're not even sitting down to enjoy a meal, give your mind a little break, and at the same time, because you're eating, you're not really properly paying attention to whatever you're trying to do in your notebook. So overall, it ends up being a waste of time. This is my wisdom that I've had to gather over years of attempting to multitask. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes, like these times, it's not. So it just makes everything like... It's basically against what you're trying to do. It's the opposite of what you wish you could accomplish. So just let it go for a little bit. Aye.
聖書か。そう。ご教科は得意のようだけど、こちらも堪能なのかしら。
To be honest, I'm not good at Bible study. If we study together, we should do okay. I don't feel like this is something Erika would say. And she's having a oh yeah, right, you're absolutely right, that she's also having a conversation at the same time. A triple input of information that makes it hard to retain much, yeah. So you're not fully present in the conversation, you're not fully enjoying the meal and giving your mind a much needed break and allow your body to fuel itself properly, and you wouldn't even properly be paying attention at whatever you would be trying to study, so you would have to go over it again because, yeah, you're not gonna retain everything there. So, it's just a mess. Okay, so what's the choice here? If we study together, we should do okay. Am I looking at the right? I am looking at the right set of answers. This was a little bit uncharacteristic of Erika, but let's see. To be completely honest, I'd forgotten. I have laughably little memory of what we've learned in Bible studies so far. I've always thought it criminal to waste brain cells on things I'm not interested in, but now I'm starting to wonder if that was foolish of me. The shrimp thing is somewhat difficult to explain. Basically, it's untranslatable Japanese wordplay. Okay. I see. They did their best with the buttered versus battered, but I guess it has a completely different nuance in Japanese. Alright.
うちの2番目の姉が言っていたよ。何？冴えない時間を一緒に過ごしたやつが友達だってな。資源だよな。それって一緒に勉強しようってこと？
She catches on sometimes. She catches on really quickly. That was a really roundabout way of saying it, but Chidori understood. She looks dubious, and yet she reaches for her notebook and fiddles restlessly with her pen.
2人でやればなんとかなる。
I say that, but one of us is kind of a weak student, and the other doesn't even remember being told what would be on the test. I trail off. The silence stretches on, and Takasaki goes back to her previously forgotten salad. I also start on the shrimp I'd been looking forward to, but it's gone cold. When tempura cools down, the oil makes it go soft and gummy, and it loses all its flavor. I let out a sigh.
まだ死ぬ気はない。だが、もし死ぬとしたら、時と場所は自分で選ぶ。どうしたの？おかしくなったの？わしは舞よりたっていう映画のセリフだよ。時と場所を選ぶためにも、戦わなくちゃならないもん。
I'm thinking to myself that my only option is to have someone tutor me. I'm not good at asking people for things, but in this case it's unavoidable. Picking up a piece of cold tempura with my chopsticks, I considered the possible candidates. I'm the one who decided that I needed someone to tutor me in my least favorite subject. And since I'm loath to ask people for things, it stands to reason that I'd go to the person I have the easiest time approaching, my bookworm buddy. There's nothing unusual in that. However...
どうしたね。難しい顔をしているぞ。もしかしてあの日なのかい？
My upperclassman grins cheerfully. She has a unique talent for coming out with things that would normally constitute sexual harassment, without it coming off as crass.
自分は重い方なんで、あの日ならもっと人相が悪くなってますよ。っていうか、
Okay.
なんでいるんですか？
Yatsushiro-senpai flaps the collar of her summer uniform to cool herself down.
おかしなことを言うな君は。八重垣くんが聖書の教科が苦手だからと教えを請うてきたんじゃないか。
How did she know? Wait, what? How did we get in this situation?
先輩には一つも。
ん？それとも何か？聖書を教えてくれというのは建前。僕と秘密の勉強をしたいということかい？
I love her. I love her. I feel like they're not exactly the same personality-wise, but her intensity matches Erika's intensity. And it even maybe takes, overtakes her. And she does not like it. I mean, Erika does not like it. She smiles suggestively at me, still fanning her chest, then leans forward.
やめてくださいよ。佐々木姉妹じゃないんだ。先輩がやったらシャレにならない。
Yet you were making jokes like these with Rika earlier, right? Isn't it kind of like in the same wheelhouse, you know? Yeah. I avert my eyes from the mounds of her breasts, visible through her open collar, and think back a little on how this all came to be. Right, yesterday after class, I'd asked Shirahane, who was working in the library, to help me out with Bible study.
ええ、私でよければ。
そうか、よかった。お前に断られたらどうしようかと思ったよ。
エリカさんの頼みを断るなんてしないわ。
おい、また。
八重垣さんには八代先輩の時に貸しがあるって言われていたものね。
That's right. I had said that when I helped her out back then. The Yuzuri Hayatsushiro incident. The person suspected of being the culprit was...
高坂真由里。
I didn't realize that the whole plot point with Mayuri leaving would become such a... I don't know, such a sore point in this follow-up. I don't know how I feel about that. But I guess it's leading towards some sort of development later in another of the parts. So now they're kind of like drilling it in. I love Yuzu's energy. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, she's amazing. She must have been thinking back on the same thing as me. Her demeanor had been no different to usual, but now an incomparably sad expression falls over her countenance. Tears well up in her eyes, threatening to spill forth at any moment. My chest constricts violently, like I've run out of air.
あいつのことは
これは18歳未満には見せられない状況かな。
Before we move into this, just want to say, I do like how protective Erika is of So. There's something really cute and sisterly there. I like that. An incongruous voice dispels the heavy mood.
放課後の社用の図書室で見つめ合う乙女たち。絵にはなるが、なるべくなら人目につきにくい場所でやった方がいい。
何もしようとしてませんよ。
本当かい？僕は性差別者ではない。
Wrestling with the tightness in my chest, I began talking with the suspicious Yatsushiro senpai, and as a result...
君から頼んできたんじゃないか。
思い違いですよ。
I was so flustered. It's certainly possible that what I said could have been taken that way. I like that Mayuri's disappearance is a continued plot thread. It makes sense Suo would still be affected by it, and it gives her an avenue for development. Also, protective Erika is so sweet. Yeah, it's very sweet. I hadn't expected it to be so heavily emphasized. But I don't necessarily dislike it. It's just surprising. I thought that since we're moving on to focusing on other characters, that would be left a little bit outside the, I don't know, area of exploration of what the next topics would be. And I also didn't, just from how we saw Erika, obviously from the outside, because we weren't seeing things through her eyes in the previous part, I didn't catch on quite how attached she is to Suo and how protective she is of her. And yeah, I'm enjoying seeing that. It's really cool. I just wanted to wrap Shirahane up in my arms and wipe the sad look from her face. Oh, see?
思い違いだ。
ん？何をつぶやいているんだい？もしかして僕の胸を盗み見ることに夢中なのかな？
See what I mean? She really matches Erika's level in this. Aww.
先輩と一緒だといいことが一つだけありますね。
何かな？
落ち込む暇もない。
そりゃ傑作だ。
Shirahane and Takasaki, who are also here to study, also here studying, look over curiously at the sound of Yatsushiro senpai's laughter. So you're not only having this conversation, you're having it with other people around. Okay, I get it.
白羽さん、この一文だけど、これは誰に対して告げた言葉なの？あ、はい、それは。
Although she's still sending anxious glances my way, Shirahane diligently answers Takasaki's question. We've decided to study in our bedroom, but we hadn't had enough desks and had to grab some from an empty room. We're sat by the beds while Shirahane and Takasaki are over by the bookshelf. Takasaki suddenly shifts and I find myself watching Shirahane, now visible across the desk from her. As far as I'm concerned, my bookworm buddy is the...
どうしたね、八重垣くん。気もそぞろじゃないか。
いえ、こちらも勉強に戻りましょうか。
I open up my textbook to the section that will appear on the test. The phrasing used in the Bible is pretty annoying in that it can be interpreted multiple different ways. But when it comes to our exams, there should be just the one right answer. Oh, how I hated that about school. I look up to ask Yatsushiro senpai for her opinion, and...
何か顔についていますか?
Particularly when it came to interpreting texts. Right, because it's obviously more straightforward when it comes to, I don't know, math or chemistry or physics and applying a formula or an algorithm or something. But like when it comes to interpretation of texts, But there only being one answer. Yeah. Yeah.
いや、君と君のアミテアは面白いなと思ってね。
I suppose from the outside, our double act could be pretty amusing. I always preferred math over English class for that reason. I see.
ですかね。こちらとしては面白いだけじゃ済まない。共同生活だから色々と大変ですよ。
そうなのかい？
一度料理部で話した感じで察しているんじゃないですか。性格的に合わないってのは。
After being so honest with with my feelings, her response hits me like a bucket of ice water. Ooh, what does she say?
僕はそうは思わないな。
Ooh. She fiddles with her silvery bangs.
バスキア教諭にも言われましたけどね。私としては違和感しかありませんよ。
Yeah, I was about to say that she is in agreement with Dahlia.
違和感。違和感か。八重垣くん、違和感というのはね、似ているからこそ感じるものなんだよ。
はい。
違和感というのは何かしら共通する部分が多くあるから感じるものなんだ。似ているからこそ同じじゃない部分が気になるのさ。
It's a fitting explanation, but looking over at my Amitia partner, who's concentrating too hard on her studies to pay any attention to our conversation, I'm loath to agree.
まあなんだ。せっかくのアミティア同士なんだ。上手に付き合うといい。だが生々しい関係まで行くとめんどくさいことになるだろうけどね。
At her joke, I find my eyes drawn unconsciously to Shirahane, who is writing away studiously.
八代先輩は性差別者でないと言ってたと記憶してますが。
僕個人はそうだ。だがここはキリスト教の学び屋だからね。デリケートな問題なんだよ。
To be honest, I don't know much about that sort of thing, though I've heard it said often enough how big a deal they make out of virginity.
まあ近年では不当な扱いを差別だとしているところもある。だがまだ難しい問題だろうね。
Yuzuriha is so refreshingly straightforward about things. I love that. She mutters to no one in particular. I feel a strange unease seeing the usually hyperactive Yatsushiro-senpai looking so uncharacteristically glum.
いや、白羽と高坂のことを思っているんだろう。
I'm sure she's aware of the situation between them, but then why would she bring up this topic with Shirahane in the same room, even if she's keeping her voice lowered?
疲れた顔をしているね。
いや、八代先輩の方が。
指導してかれこれ1時間余りだ。リフレッシュする必要があるな。よし。
Yeah, I really like that about her. She leaps to her feet and, ignoring the startled looks from the others, leans in close to me.
先輩!
She suddenly lifts me up in her arms and I let out something close to a shriek.
ようやく年下らしいところを見せたな。
Gritting at me like the cat that got the cream. I don't really encounter this saying much. Interesting. My own trademark look. She carries me over to the bed, bridal style.
まさか予行練習でもするって言うんですか？
まさかと言ったら？
It's hard to tell when this one's joking. Hey, don't look at me like that. I glare back at Shirahane and Takasaki, feeling my cheeks flush hotly. She lays me down on the bed, then clambers on top of me.
さすがに笑えなくなってきたんですけどね。
ならどうする？
このまま蹴り上げますよ。
Can she do that? She laughs for a while, seemingly tickled by my off-color joke, then slides her hand between my side and the bed.
うつ伏せになってもらうよ。
She turns me over, settling herself down by my thighs. I can feel the soft weight of her breasts on me. Okay, what is happening? Oh my god, what is happening?
血のりを得たぞ。何のつもりなんです？
乗ってくれないんだな。マッサージだよ。疲れた顔をしていたじゃないか。
I'm relieved to know she's not planning anything outrageous. Wait, hang on, a massage?
よくサッカー終わりの弟へマッサージをやっていたんだ。僕の腕はなかなかのものだよ。
別に凝ってなんか。
She reaches out the hand and runs it down my shoulder blade, then applies a good amount of pressure.
だいぶ凝っているね。読書で目を酷使しているのだろう。
いや、そりゃそうなんですが。
She presses her knuckles into the area below my shoulder blade, and I feel something loosen. I didn't think I was that tense, but under this exquisite application of pressure...
こいつはなかなか。
Pleasure clouds my mind, and words of acquiescence slip from my mouth.
だろ？僕のマッサージは好評なんだ。たまにネリーにもしてやっていてね。
Are we gonna see that sometime in the future? I'm curious.
おみかど。先輩にもですか。
Visuals aren't required here, and yet we're getting them.
あいつも気苦労が多いからね。
After she's finished loosening up my shoulders, she moves down to my back and sides. Aware that she may end up brushing my chest, I instinctively tense up.
そっちはあまり凝っていませんから。
いや、上半身の筋力が波とは違うね。やはりおっと、これは微妙な話題だったか。
今さら気にしちゃいませんよ。
Reassured, she sets about carefully kneading from the top of my back down to my waist, focusing on my spine. Ah, that's what you meant. I see. With every press of her thumbs, I can feel my muscles relaxing.
どうにも落ち着かないんだよな。
Shirahane and Takasaki are watching our impromptu massage session with wide open eyes. And then there's the fact that Yatsushiro-senpai's butt is pressed fast against my thighs. I can only imagine that Chidori is like, oh, I see. That's a great thing. Maybe I should learn to do that too. Nerina sounds like she gets a lot of stiff backs. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. We can't assume. We have to see. We need like the actual proof laid bare. Okay, what am I saying? Let's move on. I can feel it clearly through the thin pleats of my skirt, the touch of her soft, supple buttocks. Wow, what a sentence! What a sentence. Moving on. We're both girls, but still. I can't help but think back on our brief conversation about homosexuality earlier.
そろそろいいです。だいぶ楽になりました。
ん？そうかい？まあ、背筋はほぐしたが。
Oh no, what else do you want to do? I'm relieved when the sensation of her butt disappears.
足の方もやっておこうか。
I quickly shift away as her hands brush my thighs. No, they're dangerously close to my crotch. Okay.
いや、本当に大丈夫ですから。
Erika herself describing every aspect of this message in the least strange way possible. Yeah. I think that's the difference between them, because they have like a a similar kind of energy, but Yuzuriha is incredibly straightforward, while Erika is mostly roundabout about things. I think that's it.
そうかい？存外凝っている気もするんだがね。
I'm sure Yatsushiro senpai didn't mean anything bad by what she said, but Shirahane makes a shocked sound and I look over at them. Shirahane is speaking out from between her fingers, her cheeks red, while Takasaki is watching us intently with narrowed eyes.
私を見るな。瞬きしろ。
ん？どうしたんだい？もしかして僕と八重垣くんの仲の良さに焼いたのかい？
Yeah, she is.
そうじゃなくて。
そうじゃないとは寂しいな。スオくんは僕にとって特別な存在なんだがね。
See? This is what I mean. If Erika were to make a joke like that, she would kind of like, make it into a curveball somehow, with some implied meaning there. Meanwhile, Izuha is just like straight arrow.
Senpai, 人の上で口説くのはやめてくださいよ。
She chuckles, and I feel a soft pressure on my thighs again. While Shirahane is dithering nervously, Takasaki takes charge.
次は講師を変えて指導するというのはどうでしょう。
She makes a suggestion.
ほう、スオくんの教えでは不服かね？
いえ、せっかくなので二階屋の会の会長にも教えてもらいたいのです。
なるほど。多面的な捉え方もできるようになるか。採用しよう。
A versatile approach? What does that mean? What is she talking about? She readily accepts the idea and pulls away from me. A sigh of relief escapes my lips as the soft heat I'd been feeling on my thighs leaves, along with the pressure of her body. I also sit up, and before she can try anything else uncalled for, move myself to the edge of the bed. My Amitia partner brings my wheelchair over as usual.
初めてお前がアミティエでよかったと思っているよ。
I tell her weakly. Yours is a lot more straight now, gay forward. I mean, you know what I mean.
黄色ワイヤルって知ってる？
I was just referring to the way she approaches and talks about things. That she doesn't like beat around the bush. How many hearts do you think Yuzu has worn and broken at the school? Oof, she is incredibly popular, so I don't know. Definitely in the double digits, I would say. Tea Royale. The president asks me as I'm sipping at my favorite Russian tea, and I shake my head.
紅茶の飲み方の一つでね。こうやってスプーンに角砂糖を乗せて。
A whole cube? Along with my other classmates who have been invited to the tea party, I watch as she demonstrates.
そして角砂糖の上にブランデーをちょっぴり注ぐの。そしてマッチで火をつけるときれいに青い火がついて。
Oh, man. Yeah, what a time to be alive, isn't it? Okay, you put brandy and you set the sugar on fire. What does it do? Make it into caramel?
あとはお砂糖が溶けたら紅茶に溶かして飲むのよ。
Although she doesn't actually show us the part with the brandy and the flame.
面白そうな入れ方だな。ええ、紅茶にブランデーの香りを加えて楽しむ飲み方なの。大人よね。憧れるわ。
Is there really any of that left after you set it on fire? I don't know how that works. Aw, happy to have you here. Happy. She makes it sound as though she very much approves of drinking alcohol, and I wonder if the excitement of finishing the end of term exams has gone to her head too.
酒で酔っ払って紅茶の味なんてわからなそうだけどな。火でアルコールは飛ぶからその心配はいらないらしいわ。コーヒーでも同じことができるそうよ。そっちはカフェロワイヤルというそうなの。
Interesting. Yeah, see? That's what I was thinking, that from the burning there wouldn't be like alcohol, but then I guess there's still a taste left?
へえ、私としてはそっちの方が好みかな。
The president, who's firmly in the tea camp, gives a cry of mock frustration.
その調子じゃ、テストの結果、良かったみたいだな。
Oh, it's okay, no worries. Yuzu supples buttocks and Rika screaming. Oh yeah, the adjectives, the adjective game when describing stuff like that is like really up there. Props to the translation team. Yeah, Rika's taste is very mature. I mean, she knows a lot about tea, it seems. Although I don't know, I would just be worried about the danger of setting stuff aflame. But yeah.
受け取るときに慌てないくらいには。八重垣さんはどうなの？
We've finished with the end of term exams and have already got back our graded papers. I unconsciously find myself looking for Takasaki.
なんとかなったよ。聖書だけが何だったが、赤点は免れた。
It seems that Takasaki, who'd been in the same boat as me before the tests, just scraped by herself. She managed to pass in the 5 core subjects as well.
で、佐々木姉、妹ともおとなしいが、お前らはどうだったんだ？赤点取って補習三昧確定か？いきなり何を言うのかね。そうです。人権蹂躙ですよ。
Oh, I love Ringo.
お前らの何を蹂躙したってんだよ。蹂躙！エッチな響きだね。
Ichigo elicits a laugh from our classmates as she wiggles her hips. No one's sneering, it's warm laughter without any trace of malice. They're a generous crowd.
赤点は取っていないですよ。スオちゃんと一緒に勉強してたんだからね。むしろ成績は上がりました。八重垣ちゃんはなぜ赤点を取ったのだと思ったのです？そりゃ。
I pluck one of the colorful macarons sitting in front of the Sasaki twins and toss it into my mouth.
犬が餌を食べないときは病気にかかっているって言うだろ。おお、犬扱いですか。ワンちゃんは可愛いからいいけど、勉強に根を詰めすぎたから終わった今でも調子が悪いんだよね。何せ口を開けたら英単語がこぼれ落ちそうで。
A few of the other girls nod their agreement. The younger Sasaki finally picks up a bright orange macaron and takes a bite. A smile immediately spreads across her face. Sweets make everything better. Oh yes! Ah yes. I myself had an ice cream before stream, and that really lifted up my spirits. They've gone from fruit to children to dogs. In the span of a few lines. Yeah, you're right.
でも期末テストも終わったし、週末には収穫祭もあるから、そこまでには復調しとかないとね。収穫祭？
It's the first I've heard of it, and the same must go for some of the others as we all look toward the president.
7月のこの時期に行われる学院の年間行事の一つよ。学園祭を収穫祭と呼ぶところもあるけど、 この学院の収穫祭は文字通りの意味なの。
Okay.
収穫した野菜を食べるってこと？ええ、今でも農場で収穫した野菜をいただいているでしょ。だから食べ物に対する感謝の心、命の大切さの理解。
I always call them the fruit twins. Oh, that's cute.
食の意義や大切さの理解を目的に開催されるの。へえ、まあご立派なこったが楽しいのかね。
Even after the president's little sermon, I can't see any significance in it besides eating vegetables together with everyone. I can't help but wonder why the Sasakis are so excited about it. As if sensing my doubts, the younger sister spreads her arms wide and addresses me.
収穫祭ではトウモロコシが振る舞われるのですよ。
Food again.
茹でてよしです。
Yeah.
ああ、焼きトウモロコシは確かにうまそうだな。
I haven't had any this year. I sometimes see it in the supermarket and I'm like, should I? I haven't so far. As opposed to the potato cousins, I suppose. My taste buds recall the flavor of the barbecued corn I ate at the nighttime stall that my sister once took me to. Oh, those are really good too. That wonderfully sweet aroma, the corn slathered in soy sauce and slightly charred. Oh, they eat it with soy sauce, interesting. The fragrant explosion of taste as I sank my teeth into it.
そう、それについにスイカ様まで食べられるんだよ。
My fantasy is interrupted just as I'm about to take my first bite, and I steal the macaron in front of her in retaliation. This one's the color of green tea.
そういえば農場での世話にスイカも入ってたっけな。ようやく食べられるところまで来たのか。自分で育てたスイカを食べられるとか贅沢だよ。トウモロコシも楽しみだし、体調を戻した上でお腹を減らしとかなきゃ。
She grabs a macaron and stuffs the whole thing into her mouth, and I wonder if she hasn't recovered simply through talking about it. There's another laugh from the group.
ま、高崎のやつにも後で教えておいてやるかね。
I look around at the other participants, even though I know I won't find her among them.
白羽。
Spotting my bookworm buddy sipping tea by herself a little removed from the circle, I push my wheelchair over to her. Teacup in hand, she's gazing out at the cool amber surface of the water with a sorrowful look in her eyes. Yeah, it's really cute, and obviously fitting. Her lips seem to be forming words, and I strain my ears to make out what she's saying.
コーヒー。そう。あの時も。
Her voice is barely above a whisper, and I can't catch it all.
よう、彼女。暇だったら一緒にお茶でもどうだい？八重垣さん。
My banter must have flown right over her head. No, perhaps she didn't even hear me. She's staring at me like she's just awoken from a dream.
収穫祭の話で盛り上がってるみたいだぜ。白羽も混ざってこいよ。
Fully ripe for cannibalism jokes. Yeah, they do like to do that, don't they? Especially Ringo.
そうですね。
Her mind's obviously off somewhere far away.
やっぱりこいつ。
Seeing Shirahane struggle with this pain, I don't know what I can say. The days tick by, and the weekend arrives. The harvest festival that the twins had been so looking forward to begins. Just as we'd discussed at the tea party, the food we'll harvest sure enough includes corn and watermelon as the main features. Apparently we'll also be gathering eggplants, onions, and bell peppers. I love all of these things. They'll then be served as accompaniment at the night's barbecue. Since the theme is giving thanks for all our food and appreciating the value of life, I'm sure it's fine if there's some meat included in the meal. I look over at the Sasakis, who are gathering eggplants and peppers.
私もあっちの方が良かったな。
はい、どうしました？
Sister Basket overhears my muttering. Even under the burning rays of the summer sun, her refreshing smile never falters.
あ、いえ、食べるのが楽しみだなって。
そうね。私も収穫祭はいつも楽しみにしているのよ。
Out of the corner of my eye, I can see her bashfully pressing her hand to her cheek as I watch the laughing Sasaki sisters harvest eggplants using their pruning shears.
あっちは、
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to do that.
あっちは楽そうでいいよな。
While I got roped into accompanying Sister Basket in harvesting the corn.
これ、意外と重労働ですよね。
Yeah, they're not easy to pull off the thing. To harvest the corn, you have to hold each ear up by the tassel and snap it off from the stalk. It takes a lot of strength. I end up really straining myself each time I attempt it, while Sister Basket, who is much stronger than she looks, is breaking them off with ease.
コツをつかめばそうでもないのよ。あ、それはダメ。もう一つ隣のものをもぎってちょうだい。
順番に収穫していくんじゃないんですか？
You gotta get the ripe ones.
旬になったかそうでないかの見分け方があるの。実の上の毛が
Exactly.
茶色くなっていたら収穫時期なのよ。
へえ、そういう見分け方があるんですね。
I nod and reach for the ear with the brown tassel. I can't snap it off without really putting all of my strength into it, including my core muscles. The huge ear of corn comes off in my hand with a satisfying crunch. I suppose this is kind of fun.
ちゃんとやっているわね。
Rika! She peers down at the corn in my hands, which I'd been about to peel the husk from.
お、サボりかい？違うわ。みんなが遊んでいないか見回っているのよ。ダリア先生、ごきげんよ。
I keep an eye on the two of them as I peel the leaves from the corn cob.
あら、虫に食べられちゃったのかしら。粒が歯抜けになっちまってるな。
I'd been told that it was ready to harvest, but here we are. Noticing my look, Sister Basket flaps her hands around, her cheeks flushing.
これは仕方がないことなのよ。これは虫が食べたのではなく、受粉させるのを誤ってしまった結果なの。
受粉？
Sasaki would probably have something to say about that sounding naughty. Oh god! I wouldn't have thought about it if you, like, not in a million years would I have taken that sentence and thought it would, like, okay. I'm going around to see that everyone is working. Ah yes, Rika, the middle manager. I mean, it might be one of her attributions as a class president to make sure everything is going smoothly, and if anyone is struggling to, I don't know, help and, I don't know, maybe tell them what they're doing wrong and stuff like that. Instructing them. However, while her cheeks are still red, Sister Basket points to the corn in my hands with a serious expression.
遊穂が開花したら、その穂を切り取って志穂に直接花粉をつけ受粉させるの。この時、上手にやらないと八重垣さんが持ったトウモロコシのように粒が均等でない歯抜けのような状態になってしまうのよ。
Yeah, but sometimes she is so oblivious to the point where I have to wonder if a teacher should be that oblivious. But this is not the point, not one of them. This is cool, all cool.
そうなんですか。お家でいただいた時にたまに粒が揃ってない不揃いなものがあったけれど、それって受粉に失敗したものだったのね。
The president nods admiringly, her braids shaking.
意外だな。何が？委員長の家はいいとこっぽいから 粒が揃ってないトウモロコシなんて食べたことがないと思ったぜ。祖母が家庭菜園をしていたから知っているの。夏はよくいただいたわ。
Sometimes I wonder if she just acts oblivious because she's around students. I think precisely because she's around students, she should be more aware. But oh well, I've just gotten used to how she is, and like I take her at face value. That's none of our business. I see what you did there. I'd always had this image of her as being even more of a proper young lady than Shirahane, but this all makes her seem slightly more accessible.
もったいないからこれはこれで収穫しておこうか。
I pop it into the basket. After all, it's not like it's inedible.
八重垣さんは収穫祭の意義を理解しているわね。
単に貧乏症なだけってのもあるんだがね。
I'm deeply reluctant to throw away anything that can still be eaten. I absolutely agree with that. Fully against food waste.
ほら、こっちの食べ頃みたいよ。
Unless it's something that has gone bad. If it's gone bad, no. If it's gone bad, obviously, there's no place for it in your stomach. She points to a particularly large ear of corn. However, the beard-like tassel hasn't yet turned brown. It's still very green.
私のところはいいから、他の奴らのところを見回ってこいよ。私も八重垣さんと収穫祭を楽しみたいのに。こっちは二人で十分だよ。見回りするならそうだな。
I look around at my classmates.
最近一緒に嫌がるな。
She hasn't wanted to be around her recently. Who's she and who is her in this sentence? I spot Takasaki and Shirahane picking bell peppers nearby. They give off the impression that they're getting along like a house on fire, but...
どうしたの？白羽のところにでも見回りに行ったらどうだ？
She falters when she sees Takasaki working beside her.
苦手意識があるのは知っているけどな。顔を出しとかないとお前の元カノ取られちまうぜ。元カノってもう。
Flashing crimson to the tips of her ears, she stares at me and Sister Basket, who is regarding us curiously. She fiddles agitatedly with her braids, then...
行ってくるわ。
She obediently heads over to Shirahane. It's not because she thinks she's in danger of having her amitié partner stolen.
またぞろ。心ない言葉で白羽が傷つかないか心配なんだろうな。
I feel that Dahlia is even more oblivious and pure than someone like Neri. I don't know, maybe? I feel like I haven't gotten to know Nerine that much to be able to draw a conclusion there. Here's this Ringo. Ringo is absolutely a vibe. And she's absolutely my vibe, so every time she's around, I'm like in seventh heaven. I watched the president stride over to the two girls, quite honestly.
どうにも気になるな。
さあ、収穫を続けましょう。
I nod to Sister Basket, but scratch my head, feeling somewhat gloomy about the dark clouds I sensed hanging over Shirahane.
聖書の中に収穫祭のことが記されています。
I'm not making any statements about how pure or not I am. No. It's fine. Sister Basket's voice sounds out over the allotments once we've finished harvesting all the vegetables.
出エジプト記23章16節にて、主がモーセに仰せになりました。あなたが畑に種をまいて得た勤労の初穂の借り入れの祭りと、年の終わりにはあなたの勤労の実を畑から取り入れる収穫祭を行わなければならないと。
With the strong rays of the midday sun beaming down on her, she continues her sermon, on the meaning of the Harvest Festival in a lilting, resonant voice. I'm impressed by the way she's able to stand there in the sunlight addressing us without a single drop of perspiration marring her brow.
いつもは間の抜けた感じなのにな。何？どうしたの？
I tell the Sasaki sisters, who have taken up positions next to me, to forget it and listen to the sermon, and we all turn our eyes back to Sister Basket.
神は荒野の中にいた民に彼らを父と蜜の流れる土地に導き入れられることを約束され、その収穫物を持って主に対して祭りを持つことを命令されました。春には大麦の収穫時期に初穂の祭りを行います。
Seeing her in her religious element and discussing a tangible topic has me listening with great interest to a sermon that I would usually have dismissed as boring.
お腹空いちゃったね。ま、それには同意だ。
As wonderful as a learned sermon from a beautiful woman may be, the scent of the freshly prepared corn is really taunting us. My stomach keeps threatening to growl.
こうして流浪の民は約束の地で主が収穫をもたらしてくださることを認め、主に感謝を捧げ、喜び祝うのです。
十分に主に感謝をしたくなりましたよ。トウモロコシをこの世に作ってくれて。スイカもだよ。アーメン。
Now I really want corn and watermelon. Thank you, girls. The Sasakis, who've made sure to come on empty stomachs as they'd promised, are watching Sister Basket resentfully as her sermon drags on. Alice let out a snort of laughter and whispered to them to stop. Still, while her spiel is appreciated, I do hope she wraps up soon. My stomach can't take much more of this. This is it, Bea. Grab the screenshot. This is it. This is the perfect encapsulation of what the streams are like. This is it. Okay. I can't stop my lips from curling up into a smile when Sister Basket finally enters her closing statement.
収穫祭は我々だけでなく、神ご自身が祝福される祭りでもあるのです。
I've been hungry for pickled eggplants ever since they mentioned eggplants. I feel you, although I don't think I've ever had pickled eggplants. That sounds interesting. She continues with her apologue, but as someone who doesn't read religious books, I'm confused as to whether the concept she's talking about is allegorical or not. Then, having finished, Sister Basket surveys the students before her.
では、主のお恵みをいただくとしましょう。
She announces the main event of the festival. That being the matter of enjoying the fruits of our harvest.
あらあら、箸が
There
進んで
she
いま
is.
せんね、八重垣さん。
Our purity fairy. Yeah.
本当じゃないか。そんなことでは大きくなれんぞ。
八代先輩に言われると食べなきゃいけない気分になりますね。
All the school's year groups are mixed together enjoying the summer crops. There doesn't seem to be any formal division of roles, but some students are cutting the watermelons while others barbecue the corn or volunteer to do prep work. Shirahane and the president are part of this group. And then there's me and the Sasakis, who are specializing in eating the results. I love this sentence. Specializing in eating the results. Perfect. Chef's kiss. Alternating between both are the president and vice president of the Council of Nicaea, who for some reason have installed themselves next to me.
確かに譲り葉は大きいわよね。私ももう少し欲しいわ。
へえ、コミカド先輩でもそういうことを思うのですね。
譲り葉はもう少しで170代ですものね。
Oh, that's
私も
Dolian.
160代には届きたいわ。
Oh, so she's smaller than 160. Aww. Cute. Oh, that's what she meant. In regard the two of them. Sorry, I regard the two of them. Shirahan is the tallest in our year, but she's still only just over 160 centimeters. Isn't Takasaki around the same height? In fact, when it comes to the measurement I was originally thinking of, she's also...
ネリー、八重垣くんが話していたのは背の話ではないよ。僕たち乙女のマストな話題だよ。
Wait, I have to double check this. Where is it? Was this the line coming from you, Yatsushiro-senpai? That feels like an order, right? She's replying to, you'll never grow at this rate. And it's like so subtle and like slipped under, like in between the lines, you know? And then there's Yatsushiro who, she states, she meant our womanly attributes, our bazookas. So the contrast between... Oh, okay, great.
マスター反戦
Making her repeat that word, it almost feels like a crime. Speaking about her, how pure she is, yeah, that feels wrong. Bazooka screenshotted, okay. Yatsushiro-senpai spreads her hands exasperatedly. A piece of watermelon in one, no.
女子力が足りないんじゃないか？胸の話だよ。バストさ。ねえ、八重垣くん。
まあそうだったんですけども。
Komikado-senpai's skin is so pale to start with that her blush is painfully obvious. She hides her face behind the corn on the cup she's been nibbling on. Okay, that's super cute.
こんな明るい場所でそんなハレンチの話をして。
いいじゃないか。胸筋を開いて話をすることに憧れていると以前言っていただろう。
女子力とハレンチって会話で初めて聞いたぞ。
I tell Komikado-senpai, her cheeks still red with embarrassment, that I am envious of her.
八重垣さん、もういじめないで。
この中で一番大きいのはネリーだからな。自慢しておきたまえよ。そういえば。
Used to be like, would you prefer for me to bring it in the middle of the night? Did he? Oh yeah, definitely that kind of energy matches her. So it's fine if it's not spoken in the middle of the day. Yeah, pretty much. Takasaki-kun could give you a run for your money, she says, looking in her direction. Oh, okay.
そういえばそうですね。
Since it didn't exactly interest me, I hadn't really noticed. Thinking about it though, hers might actually be bigger than Shira. Now Suo's in here as well somehow.
だとするとクラス1か。ますます嫌いになりそうだぜ。
Why? My gaze naturally wanders down to my own little houses on the prairie. Again, please note the absolute contrast. Yuzuriha is like bazookas, boobs, breast, womanly things. How did she call them? Womanly... I really want to know how she said it. Oh god, this was a bit too high. Womanly attributes, okay. Then there's Erika. Houses on the prairie. Okay. They just casually making their own bus tier list. I guess it's a girly kind of thing to do, right? You look around at how others are developing, you compare yourself. It's natural for that age. Instead of sighing, I bite into my boiled corn on the cob. So, obvious protrusions. Erika, houses on the prairie. Yuzu, bazookas, exactly. At least I can be thankful for this sweet bounty.
高崎さんはどこに？
確か
I look around and spot her next to the Sasakis, single-mindedly chowing down on some corn. She seems to like it enough to add it to her notebook.
食べるのに専念してますよ。コミカド先輩は
When I turn back to ask her my question,
あの
she's not there. Oh,
出して。
oh, she's too close. I find myself paralyzed as she leans in close to me. Not literally, of course. Ah! I was just so confused, but I find myself paralyzed as she leans in close to me. And then, not literally, and I took it to mean that she's not leaning in close literally. And I was wondering, what do you mean? What's the figurative way of leaning in? But I guess she was referring to the paralyzed part. That's a joke. It's a self-deprecating one. I see it. I see it.
まつげが頬に。さあ、願い事をかけて。
Oh, that's so cute. We used to do that a lot when we were kids, when I saw some of my friends have a lash on the cheek. But we were supposed to say, oh, you have a lash on your cheek. You have to guess on which cheek it is. And if you are right, then your wish will come true. That was cute.
あの
まつげのおまじないってやつさ。どうぞ、お姫様。
Not having much choice in the matter, I repeat a Buddhist mantra to myself and think about what to wish for. Funny how Erika already had similar reactions to Nerino on multiple occasions. I guess so.
ふーってまつげを飛ばすの。
I do as I'm told and blow on the eyelash resting on Komikado senpai's fingertip.
これで願い事が叶ったわ。
She smiles at me.
ごめんなさい。驚いたかしら。
いえ昔映画で見たことがありますからまさか自分でやるとは思っていませんでした。
抜けた乳歯を枕の下に入れておくと妖精が来てコインに変えてくれると似た属心の一つだね。
歯の妖精ですね。うちでは昔ながらの縁側や屋根の上に投げてってやつでしたけどね。
It always impresses me how different people's upbringing can be when they're not fully Japanese. That's okay. We don't need this. It's so good. Thank you. Yatsushiro-senpai speedily devours her watermelon, then picks up another piece.
そっちの方が僕には興味があったな。ん？あ、ダメか。歯の生え替えの頃はマンション住まいだったものな。
You are precious, viewers. That's what we are. Can't be quantified. Okay. Although I'm concerned about the gloomy look that falls over her face in that moment, I steer the conversation toward Komikado-senpai, who is nibbling on her barbecued corn like a cute little squirrel.
迷信つながりですが、七不思議の新しい話は分かりましたか？
Oh, we're back to this. Okay.
七不思議？そうね。以前話題に上がってたから、また調べてみたの。
血まみれメアリー、さまよえるウェンディゴ、寄宿舎のシェイプシフター、 そして真実の女神。
The goddess of truth, that ridiculous superstition had nevertheless proven... What's happening? Am I lagging or is it just the game? Because I feel like it should be fine. Am I fine? Yeah, I should be fine. But it's had these moments a few times this stream where the text is like very slowly coming up letter by letter, but anyway. Right, so that ridiculous superstition had nevertheless proven true, exactly as prophesied. Well, it was something else, but if you want to describe it as an outcome of the superstition, sure. It's fine? Okay, thank you for confirming.
実はね、新しい七不思議なのだけど、
Oh no.
それは
ちょっといいかしら。
The sudden hand on my shoulder in the middle of talking about the seven mysteries sends an icy shock through me.
なんだよ、お前から話しかけてくるなんて珍しいじゃないか。
I feel strangely uncomfortable under my Amitia partner's intense stare.
あら、高崎さんもご一緒にどうかしら。
いえ、アミティエに話があるので。
She flatly turns down Komikado Senpai's invitation, then grips the handles of my chair and takes us somewhere private.
もしかして今から口を塞がれるのか？どうせなら森より海が見える場所がいい。
Finally having found a suitable quiet place, she stops, then comes around to face me.
あなたは鈍感だから気づいていないでしょうけど。あ？彼女、無理をしているように思えるわ。
Oh, Suo? Or who? I'm sure she's waiting for me to make a joke, but given who she's referring to...
まさか、お前から忠告されるとはね。
I'd been meaning to talk to her sometime soon. Oh, sorry. But it looks like sometime soon has become now. With a wave to my Amitia partner, I direct my wheelchair over to her.
ここでいい。
Now that she's done pushing my wheelchair, I can finally look back into her clear gaze. Bunnies! Feeling somewhat criticized, I wrest my gaze away and call out to the girl who's staring at the rabbits with a similar degree of intensity.
知ってるか？トマトって8000種類もあるんだってよ。
Wow.
そうなの。
ああ、最近やたらと勧められるから知ったんだけどな。
そう。
I smile as she glances my way. Her long and enviably lustrous hair stirs in the breeze, and she smooths it back down with her hand.
どうにも切り出しにくいな。
It's hard to broach the subject. Let's talk about tomatoes. See what I mean? I'm sure that plenty of people have tried to talk about it with her before me. But in the end, everyone's decided to keep their mouths shut and wait for time to pass. Tomatoes is better than weather. I do agree with that. Yes, yes.
どうしたの、八重垣さん。
Shirahane continues to hold back her hair, giving me a glimpse of the undisguisable sorrow in her eyes. Her grief shines through no matter how hard she tries to conceal it. So, spending time at the therapy bunnies. Yes, bunnies. It's obviously very acute, and I can see that even more plainly now that I'm trying to speak with her about it directly.
佐々木姉妹、イチゴとリンゴだったか？あいつら楽しそうだったな。
ええ、そうね。微笑ましかったわ。
ああ、私も存外に楽しかったよ。ま、上級生に囲まれて鬱陶しくはあったが。
Shirahane jokingly tells me I'm being mean when she hears my crack at Komikado Senpai and Yatsushiro Senpai. But even if she's smiling, her smile doesn't reach her eyes, And the empty gesture just depresses me.
私もそうだった。この学院に入ってから何でも初めては楽しいものだわ。
でも今のお前は楽しそうじゃない。
Those words are the cue, and a tense silence stretches out between us. Neither of us wants the other to say anything.
そんなことないわ。楽しんでいるわよ。とっても美味しかったし。
自分は焼いてばっかりだったろうが、口をつける気なんてなかったんだろう。
She averts her gaze, turning back to the rabbit pen. While she's not looking, I take a deep breath to psych myself up.
お前も知っているだろうが、私は嘘をつくのが得意でね。だから相手の嘘も見抜けるんだ。なあ白羽、お前光作が学院を去ったことから立ち直っていないんだろ。
Gathering my courage, I finally manage to get the words out. Shirahane narrows her eyes. I think it means as though in real pain. Before smiling at me again. I mean, maybe this was a better translation if it said as though in physical pain, because I'm pretty sure the pain she is feeling in her heart is very real. But yeah.
違うわ、八重垣さん。私はもう彼女のことは忘れたの。だから八重垣さんが気にするようなことはないわ。
And this should go in the book of records for the biggest lie ever told.
そうかい。
そうよ。
She's smiling bravely, but all I see is a little girl trying not to cry. Aww.
人間の価値は絶望的な敗北に直面していかに振る舞うかにかかっている。誰が言った言葉かわかるかい？
Is that the line in the movie? Although she looks confused, my bookworm buddy answers with Hemingway. Oh no, it's from a book actually. They both like to quote movies, so I was wondering if she was going in that direction. I bring my wheelchair closer so that my words might better reach her.
お前の振る舞いは大人だよ。塔が立った女が言う分には異論はない。だが、私たちはまだ子供なんだ。
子供。
ああ、物分かりが良すぎる。子供のようにダダをこねたっていいんだ。だって、なんだ、光作が戻ってこないか。だから無駄だってのか。
そうよ。だから私は。
黙って口を塞ぎ忘れるか。悪いがそいつは悪手だぞ。
I'm getting worked up. She stares at me, her eyes threatening to swallow me whole. I soften my tone, thank you, like I'm dealing with a child on the verge of breaking down. Sometimes it's okay to cry, especially on the shoulder of a good friend. Absolutely, I'm a crybaby, so I'm behind that. I don't hold back when I feel like crying. It's just Erika is being. She's too much like either 0 or 100. She doesn't have a way of like kind of finding a soft spot somewhere in between. She's either not touching the subject at all, or when she's doing it way too intensely and pushing so a bit too hard. So that's why I do agree that a little bit more empathy and softness is warranted in this moment.
お前があいつを忘れられるわけがないだろ。
Yeah. I go on to tell her about the scene I witnessed at the Feast of the Assumption, when they performed the Tota Pulcraes together with Shirahane on the piano. I tell her that I saw then what was between them, how they understood one another. Shirahane's shoulders tremble as she listens to my speech, then...
なんで私に黙って 消えてしまったの。
Because you are all teenagers and this is the only way you can deal with things by making extreme decisions and executing them in the most dramatic way possible. It's a staple of adolescence. Yeah, we all gotta go through it. She finally bears her true feelings.
だよな。やっぱり納得なんかできないんだよ。理由も言わずに消えたんだろう。なあ、白羽。
She's crying now. I smile at her. That smile, people say, is like a cat's.
だったら、真相を暴いてみないか。
暴く真相って。
前にも言ったが、ゲイリー・クーパーだ。真昼の決闘だよ。白か黒か、はっきりさせなくちゃならない。
High noon.
理由を知ろうというの？
そうだ。何も言わず消えたから気になるのさ。訳を知ったら本当に忘れたくなるようなくだらない理由かもしれないぜ。
Oh gosh.
エリカさん。
At long last, she shows me a real smile.
私、マユリがなぜ学院を去ったのか調べてみる。悲しむのはそれからよね。
But I mean, are they like fully? I don't think they can't be completely isolated from the outside. There have to be ways of communicating. And also, this is not like the 1800s or something. You have some sort of technology to reach out to someone. I mean, you're quoting all of these like relatively recent movies, right? So there must be at least a way to, I don't know, at least send a letter if that's really the most extreme way of it. But it's not like she disappeared off the face of the earth. It really doesn't have to be this complicated.
ああ、物足りないだろうが、泣くなら私の胸を貸してやるよ。
How about the shoulder?
ありがとう。
I guess in Japanese it's like that. She whispers her gratitude and wipes away her tears. I smile at the rabbits, who are watching us with startled expressions on their little faces. I guess it was worth making that wish on my eyelash. Aww. You made a wish for Sue. That's cute.
Grim童話にラプンツェルと呼ばれる一辺がある。長年子をなせなかった夫婦がようやく子を授かる。しかし妊娠した妻は食が細く、魔女の庭に生えるラプンツェルという野菜が欲しいとこう。夫は願いを聞き入れ盗みに入るも、魔女に見つかり、生まれた子と交換することでラプンツェルを与えることを承諾した。やがて生まれた子を魔女は約束通りにもらい受け、子をラプンツェルと名付け、森の中の高い塔へと閉じ込める。そして長い月日が経ち、偶然森の中を歩いていた王子が歌声に導かれラプンツェルを見つける。二人は何度も仰せを交わし、やがて愛し合い、彼女は妊娠する。事実を知った魔女は怒り、ラプンツェルの髪を切り、荒野へと放逐した。何も知らず訪れてきた王子も、魔女から罵られ、事の顛末を知り、絶望し、 塔の上から身を投げ失明する。物語は盲目のまま森をさまよう王子とラプンツェルは再会し、奇跡から視力を取り戻し王国へと戻り、末永く幸せに暮らしましたで終わる。だが私にはこの話を聞かされ腑に落ちなかったことがある。他の教訓を含む偶話とは違い、正直者が困難に遭うも難を逃れ報われたという話ではないからだ。夫婦は願い、魔女は対価を払う。しかしラプンツェルだけは何の代償もなかった。ロークを味わってはいるが、それは身から出たサビなのではないのかと。これから始まる物語は対価を払うことなく願いを叶えようとする道化者のお話。
Man, these stories or fables or fairy tales are really, I don't know, vicious in their original forms, aren't they? Quoting books and turning it into a mystery. What a nerdy and in-character way for Erika to cheer up her fellow book nerd. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They're prohibited from contacting anyone other than their immediate families or caretakers. Okay. It's mentioned in one of the bad ends in spring when the twins leave the academy. We didn't do the bad ends, so I guess I missed that. But that feels like a prison. I don't know, that's so weird. It's lunchtime. I gulp down my pre-meal pill, then pincer a bunch of noodles with my chopsticks. Dunk them in tsuyu dipping sauce and slurp them down enthusiastically.
やっぱり夏はこれだよな。
The cold noodles slide down my throat, cooling me from the inside out. I was about to ask if that's the cold kind of noodles, and it seems like it is. With summer at its zenith, I'm grateful for the refreshingly simple taste of noodles and sauce alone.
それだけだと栄養が偏りそうね。相変わらずサラダだけのやつには言われたくないね。
She takes her pill too, then starts on her salad. Well, I refer to it as salad, but it's really a medley of summer vegetables. Bell pepper, cucumber, tomato, all harvested from the school grounds. Lush, fresh, and certainly healthy.
でも涼やかでいいわね。
Just looking at the iced noodles sitting in their clear bowl seems to have a cooling effect. It never shows on her face, but the temperature seems to be taking its toll on my Mitia partner. She's staring at my noodles covetously.
収穫祭を過ぎてから一気に暑くなったよな。
I say this as though the event's already long gone, but not much time has actually passed, though the weather's changed dramatically. Back then it had been hot too, but a quick rest in the shade of a tree made it fairly bearable. Now you break a sweat without lifting a finger. That's the part I hate about summer too. And that's not all that's changed.
白羽。
Aww. Oh, this is so unfair. Suddenly cute, cool picture of Mairi. It seems that the talking to I gave her at the Harvest Festival had its desired effect. The strength has returned to her eyes and she's finally back to being my usual bookworm buddy. Rika Hanabishi, who spends a lot of time with her, seems to have sensed it too, as have the Sasaki twins. They've all come by separately to thank me. I'd shrugged them off, feeling a bit self-conscious, but even Yatsushiro-senpai had been moved to thank me in her own roundabout way. Yeah, not surprising that so many students quit the academy in the first few months. It's either your kind of thing or completely not. Being a book movie nerd certainly helps. I mean, I understand, but at the same time, how are the people in charge of the school expecting the students to stay there when you're isolating them from the world? Forcibly. It's just, I think there would be like even bigger incentives, not necessarily incentives, but it would help their mental state a lot more to not feel so completely like cut off from the world around them. And lines of communications are one of the very first things to have in order to achieve that. But okay. Okay, I'd shrugged them off, feeling a bit self-conscious, but even Yatsushiro-senpai had been moved to thank me in her own roundabout way. Yatsushiro-senpai thanking in a roundabout way? I wonder what that sounds like. It's made me realize just how fond everyone is of my bookworm buddy. Yeah, that's really cute. I guess maybe we didn't have this kind of view from the outside when we were reading things from Suo's perspective in the previous part. And now we get a better sense of just how much people are rallying around her and caring about her and trying to support her. That's really nice. Which isn't exactly something I have myself. I think the idea is to make them proper ladies, free of modern distractions. I guess. I would not necessarily agree that that's the outcome, but I guess that would be what they have in mind.
Oh.
The result, Yatsushiro mission failed. For a while, there's nothing to be heard beside the satisfying crunch of the salad vegetables and the peculiarly Japanese sound of noodles being slurped. She blinks rapidly, but her clumsy prodding fails to remove the offending eyelash, and tears well up in her eye as she rubs at it. Yuzu is the best type of failure. So much of a failure that she's a success in so many other ways. She completely like looped around and turned from failure to success. But she puts her fork down and settles herself in front of me with a simple please. I get her to sit down on the bed, then go over to my desk and bring her back some eye drops. I hand them over to her, but she just stares at them. Don't tell me. Never have I, so I totally feel her. I suppose people who never read books, even textbooks, don't really need them. I read books? What do you mean? Whereas I administered them 2 or 3 times a day. I head over to her, amused at our sudden role reversal. Cute! She thrusts her the drops at me. She nervously opens her eyes. They still seem to be glaring across at me angrily. This is even cuter when this is happening. I squeeze a drop into them and she shrinks back reflexively. She's trembling like a young girl. Although I suppose that's fair enough, given that she is one. Oh, who would have thought? Pachi pachi. I offer her a handkerchief as she tries blinking her eyes. I understand that she's struggling with something, but she's very cute. Things have changed. We've passed from the warmth of early summer into the midsummer heat. And then there's Shirahane and... Yeah, adorable.
バレエのことで聞きたいのだけど。何かしら?
The tense mood of just a month prior has, while not completely dissipated, eased, and some of our classmates now make an effort to talk with Takasaki.
変わったのは白羽だけじゃない。
It seems like a felicitous change has also occurred in my Amitia partner, who people had previously gone out of their way to avoid. It's not that students aren't aware of what kind of school it is before enrolling there, but a lot of them don't understand how much of a shock this complete change of lifestyle will be to them. No, I understand that, I understand. I just, while I do agree that each institution should impose its own set of, like, rules and standards and have those be, I don't know, I guess, the stepping stones that they believe lead to the intended results that they want to have, which are aligned, I guess, with the set of values in turn that they want to have the students follow, right? So, of course, there will be some restrictions, there will be some rules, especially with younger students, right, who need a sort of sense of, I don't know, discipline, but it's just overall there are a lot of details about the school that together make it feel almost claustrophobic and suffocating, and I really don't know if they truly contribute to a proper outcome, because it feels a bit counterintuitive to me to fully isolate, or like almost fully isolate them from society so that you can make them proper ladies in society. You know? I don't know, I feel like there is a chance for some of them to grow so increasingly disconnected from the world around them that at the end of this whole experience to not be able to integrate back into it, right? So that's kind of like where it doesn't sit so well with me, but alright, I'll take it for what it is at this point. What can I do?
あいつ絶対一人ぼっちキャラのまま行くもんだと思っていたんだけどな。
Oh yeah, for sure. If you find a group of your own to be part of and to feel like you belong, then definitely that helps, and otherwise it's even more isolating. Yeah, I feel it. I guess that's why they have the whole amitié thing going on in the first place too, right? Apparently, having overheard me talking to myself, the younger Sasaki twin appears beside me and interjects knowingly, Ringo! Ringo moment. I gaze across at Takasaki, who's now answering the girl's question, even if it's not with great enthusiasm.
悪意や面倒だからでなく、ああいう話し方の人だと分かったからです。そうか？実際面倒くさがりだと思うぞ。お前みたいにさ。八重垣ちゃんも私のことを知ってくれているのですね。
That wasn't exactly a compliment. Why is she so happy? I don't get. Because she's Ringo and she's an absolute vibe. That's all. I love her.
ま、私とは違うんだ。一人くらいは友達ってやつを作ってもバチは当たらないよな。八重垣ちゃんは。八重垣ちゃんは特別な友達っているのですか？
I don't. Yeah, you. Oh god. I wouldn't joke with something like this. I don't like this. This is a little bit out there even for Erika, but... let's see, what's the answer? This is the answer. Yeah, this is the answer. Of course. I was already kind of feeling it. Ugh.
白羽がされたらショックで白目向きそうだ。
Poor soul. It's so forward. I can't help but chuckle wryly to myself.
まずいことを聞きましたかね。いや、そうじゃない。そうだな。友達ね。
I have a sudden urge to mess with the girl who's now gazing anxiously at me.
友達なら目の前にいるだろう。
That should do it.
はい。
Hi.
お前だよ。私はそう思っていたんだけどな。嫌かい？
I declare my decision with a cynical smile, reminiscent of Yatsushiro senpai. This is Ringo Sasaki. She'll understand that I'm joking. I don't know. Have you met the Sasaki twins?
嬉しいですよ、エリカちゃん。
Oh, she's so cute. Oh, my heart.
お、
She clasps my hand with an uncharacteristically earnest look on her face.
処置仲間の一人に加えてくれたのですね。
What do you mean uncharacteristically earnest? She's nothing but earnest in everything. She's so overjoyed that I can't possibly tell her I was joking at this point, so I make my escape by promising to lend her a good book sometime soon. After I've gotten out of chatting with Ringo, I look over at my amitié partner's enthusiastic conversation.
ありがとう、高崎さん。
Well, all the enthusiasm was on the part of the other girl, but seeing Takasaki respond to her that much more pleasantly than before makes me somehow left behind. What? I thought you would feel proud of her. Now you're feeling jealous? Oh god, Erika. Times when Erika's pranks don't backfire on her, 0 yes.
こいつと私は違う。分かっちゃいるが。どうしたの？八重垣ちゃんと話し込んでいたのですよ。
Aww.
へえ、珍しいこともあるんだね。
Ringo goes on to tell her older twin about our earlier conversation. How I'd been saying it was strange that our classmates were beginning to accept Takasaki.
リンゴも言ってたみたいだけど、おかしくないよ。だって。
Okay, I can't bring myself to talk over when she sings, so I'm gonna let her finish all the time. Hope that doesn't bother you. Right, so she brings up the hymns we sing in Bible class, and how Takasaki sings so beautifully in front of everyone without the slightest sign of nervousness, probably due to her previous work, and how her looks remind everyone of Mairi Kosaka.
初めて歌ったんでしょ？それなのにすごく上手だし。バレエは言わずもがなってやつだもんね。一目置かれるのはさもありなんてやつか。
After completing their bar exercises, the class move onto the floor to practice. I watched Takasaki, who was performing her center work just as she did before. I'd always thought she had great posture,
バ
but
レエの時は背骨に鉄骨でも入ってるみたいだな。
鉄骨ってでも確かにすごいよね。立ち方からして違うもんね。
they say that athletes are a different breed altogether, and perhaps because my only point of comparison is the other girls in our class, I can see that it's true. You can sense the weight of their bodies in their movements, but Takasaki's dancing seems to defy the pull of gravity. She dances softly and rhythmically, like she's following a gossamer thin thread laid out before her.
対抗馬は委員長くらいか。
The class president, Rika Hanabishi, has years of dancing experience under her belt, and although she's slightly inferior in technical terms, she does seem the more expressive of the two.
門前の小僧の意見ってやつだがね。
何小僧って。
The elder Sasaki twin sidles over, blinking, and I run my eyes over her leotard-clad form from top to bottom.
お前の体型だよ。小僧っていうか少年みたいだなってこと。
She's not gonna like that.
ひどい。八重垣ちゃんだって同じくらいじゃんか。
I can't argue with that, not when it comes to my own little houses on the prairie. Oh, we're back to that. However,
身長は？身長だよ。何センチだか言ってみろって。
150。
tiny.
はいダメ。私は保健室の養護教諭と仲が良くてね。クラスの主だったやつらの体型は知ってる。
嘘。
お前140代だろ。が私は151センチだ。残念ながら明確な開きがあるのだよ。
負けた。
I wouldn't have been able to argue if she'd said height didn't matter since I'm always sitting down. Unlike Takasaki though, Ichigo has a modicum of tact, so all she does is grumble bitterly. I gaze enviously at my Amitia partner.
ま、正確に何ありなんだ。これくらいは特技がなくちゃな。
But that's a cute gap, yeah. I mutter.
へえ、特技ね。
なんだよ。
それじゃあ八重垣ちゃんはどんな特技を持っているのかね。
What special talents Erika has? I can do most things. I don't really have any. Oh, wow. These are like kind of polar opposite answers. I can do most things seems to be the one.
今の話の流れだと、私の性格が暗に悪いって言ってるようなもんだぞ。
いや、そうは言ってないけどね。
ま、自分でも悪いとは思うがね。んで、特技か。
I mull over it for a while. I come up with speed reading and lockpicking, but compared to Takasaki's, they're not much to brag about.
そりゃ、全部だよ。全部。私にできないものはないね。
I boast.
本当に？
今からバレエ踊れってのは無理だけどな。
Her expression clouds over. Perhaps she thinks she's hit a sore spot.
おいおい気にするなよ。ブラックジョークさ。お前も割と繊細なんだな。
私的には繊細だよ。
悪かったよ。
Despite what I say, I'm inclined to continue messing with her, and I bring up what I'd asked her sister for previously.
仲直りの証だ。ハグしてくれ。
She looks bewildered. Chuckling, I tell her it was just another joke, but she still goes ahead and does it.
仲直りだよ。
ああ、そうだな。
The warmth of her torso radiates through the thin fabric of her leotard, leaving me with a strange sensation. She has the peculiarly elevated body temperature of a child, and there's something so soft and fragile about her.
そろそろ話せ。委員長と同類だと思われるぞ。
残念。八重垣ちゃんと仲良くするのってレアなのに。
She makes it sound as though, were it not for older people around, she'd never want to let go. The thought almost makes me blush. I clear my throat and push her away with a hand to her delicate shoulder.
ともかく、あいつに負けてるってのは気に食わないな。
I like how Erika is able to joke about her own disability to mess with people. Yeah, that's cool. I feel like it does need to come from her in order to kind of like ease the other people. It's gonna be like, it's okay, no worries. We acknowledge what's happening here. Yeah. Times when Erika's pranks don't backfire on her still zero. Yeah.
なあ、お前にしか頼めないお願いってやつがあるんだが、聞いてくれるかい？
別に構わないけど。
She leans in toward me with a somewhat uneasy look on her face, and I whisper my request into her ear. I feel on edge. The sun's rays are beating down mercilessly on me through the hall windows. The humid air caresses my neck with every push of my chair. The moment I think about where I'm headed, I feel like turning around again. Where are you headed?
自分で頼んでおいて今さらな。
The favor I asked of Sasaki. There was really only one thing that made me resort to that.
変わり者より下と思われるのは面白くない。
That's mean. That's all there was to it. Is it? Well, I may not care what randomers? Is that a word? Okay, randomers think of me. I can't stand the thought of being looked down on by my Amitie partner. She's no stranger. Had the Sasaki sisters instigated it? No, I'd probably felt that way deep down already. I'd resolved to get myself a special skill to rival hers, if it ever came to a showdown. In what situation would it come to a showdown of special skills? What's happening? That's what I decided. What? However,
ついちまったか。
I've arrived to have my favor granted, but now that classes have finished for the day, my motivation has dropped off considerably. I guess I did make the request in the heat of the moment. Are you gonna learn to cook? What are you asking from them? Asking for tutoring feels both annoying and embarrassing in equal measure. Randomer is a word. Okay, it's not a word I have encountered before, but good to know. I learn something every day.
図書室で白羽でもいじってる方が。
おお、久方ぶりに部を訪ねてみたら面白い顔にあった。
As soon as I hear the familiar voice, the pull to just go home grows even stronger, and I drain my cup in one go. Just as I open my mouth to tell her that I'm just passing
僕に
by,
会いに来たのだろ？さあ、入ってくれたまえ。
Erika would be good at Scrabble, definitely. With all the books she's reading, poof. Overwhelmed by her manic enthusiasm, I find myself being pushed into the cooking club room without any say in the matter. So it is in the cooking club. Okay. Oh no. Oh no, the sizzling. Right. Thinking perhaps I'd claim cooking as my special skill. To compete against my Amitie partner's talent, I'd asked the elder Sasaki twin if I could have a trial day at the cooking club. However, I give the wok a shake and transfer the mapo tofu onto a broad Chinese-style plate.
ダメだなこれは。一目見てとろみがないとわかる。
Well, that's what happens when you're learning. You don't make it right the first time. The degree of amusement in her tone irritates me. Isn't it also, like, maybe too complex of a thing to start her? I have no idea what Erika's cooking skills are, but that doesn't really sound like a first thing to make someone who's learning to cook do.
僕と同じ程度の腕とはね。同輩同士仲良くやろうじゃないか。
No, she's so cute in her apron. Taken captive by the always troublesome Yatsuhiro senpai, I find my silly notions about picking up a new skill scattered to the four winds.
そういうそっちも辛いだけなのが見て取れますよ。
Ooh, is it really is too spicy a thing? And I'd been so proud of my creation.
これは痛いところを突かれたね。僕は料理が不得意なんだよ。
そいつは意外ですね。
I knew she belonged to the cooking club. I'd heard that she only showed up from time to time, but I'd still assumed my shrewd upperclassman would have been a dab hand in the kitchen.
君の言いたいことはわかるよ。だがね、料理というのはセンスなんだ。努力が無駄とは言わないが、いわゆる亀の隅というやつでね。
Maybe because I had such trouble when adding the dissolved potato starch, it's now separated from the tofu and solidified. Looking at my own mapo tofu, I can't exactly laugh at Yatsushiro-senpai. To be honest, Erika is sensitive enough to realize that her disability jokes, while fine with her, can make others uncomfortable. She had spent a pretty substantial amount of time trying to change the subject and ease Rika after telling this type of joke in the first chapter. Yeah, I remember. I guess it's also a bit cultural how uncomfortable you get at such things. Because I don't know if I would feel so strongly uncomfortable as a Japanese person would. I just took Erika at face value and noticing her behavior in the beginning. I was like, oh, okay, this is the thing she does. I get it. So I personally am not that bothered by it. But I can understand if someone else feels that way.
だが、我が師に仰いでハンバーグは作れるようになったんだ。大したものだろう?
We remember that. Sounds like an awful lot of effort. I nod meekly and Yatsushiro-senpai flashes me a cheerful grin.
しかし、我が師、スオ君は教えるのがうまい。
あいつから習ったんですか？ああ、そういえば料理部だったか。
今日は図書委員の仕事でいないがね。料理の腕も大したものだ。そういえば、佐々木くんたちもいないようだね。
今日は来るなって言っておいたからな。
You told them? Okay. Thinking that I'd probably fail a bunch of times. Ah, okay, I see. I'd asked them to spare me the humiliation and stay away today. I'm too proud to have my weaknesses on full display in front of acquaintances. Ah, poor Ringo. She's not your best friend.
まあ、彼女たちが休みだったのは長情だったかな。こうして八重垣くんを独り占めできるからね。
先輩ってそっちの毛があるんですか？
そっちの毛とは？どういう質問かわからないな。
笑えない冗談は冗談じゃないですよ。
そうか。残念。君はスオ君の次に面白そうなんだがね。
先輩は友人に順番をつけるタイプだったんですね。
焼いているのかい？
I surreptitiously resist her hand as she tries to thread her fingers through mine. I can never tell if she's being serious or not.
僕はね、感謝しているんだよ。
何をです？
スオ君の目に以前と同じような輝きが戻ったことがさ、僕にはできなかった。だから感謝しているんだ。
もう感謝は聞き飽きましたよ。
I tell her that the president and the Sasakis have already said the same, and so has she in a roundabout way. She forces a smile and pulls away from me.
同じ話を繰り返してしまうとは 僕も年を取った。さあ、こいつを片付けたらもう一度作るとしよう。
麻婆豆腐ばっかりで口の中がバカになっちまいそうだ。
Yeah, why would you start with that?
初子貫徹というやつだぞ、八重垣くん。では、交換庫だ。
We swap our mixtures, and she happily takes a spoonful of my lumpy concoction.
なんとか形にはなったか。
Bored of the regular old taste, I tried making it with sliced pork instead of the usual ground meat. I feel like I've managed a proper mapo tofu, especially with the wonderful fragrance of the scallions, which I added in at the end.
どれ、味見をしてやろう。
No sooner had she said this than she dips her spoon directly into the wok and scoops the steamy mixture into her mouth. Though I have to marvel at her asbestos smell. It's her evaluation of my cooking that really interests me.
なかなかだ。今度は片栗粉がダマになっていない。上達したじゃないか。
I have a taste of it myself. Oh god, I don't know how to read that. The rice wine I'd added for a little seasoning enhances the overall flavor, and the outcome is one I can definitely be pleased with.
大したものだ。これなら特技に入れてもいいのかもしれないな。
Is it traditional in Japan to mix tofu and meats? I have no clue. I'm taking everything they say about these recipes at face values because I personally do not know. Maybe someone else does.
はあ。
Although my motivation in coming here had been to acquire skills matching those of my amitié partner, when all said and done, it might be better to accept that I'm not a natural chef, considering my many failed attempts at making mapo tofu.
どうした？せっかく成功したんだ。もっと喜んだらどうだね？僕なんかまたぞろ失敗だ。
Yatsushiro-senpai guffaws, and I'm painfully aware of the stares of the other club members.
体験入部でこんなに食材を使われちゃな。
There are the several attempts I made, plus the Yatsushiro-senpai's on top of that. Trying to ignore their looks, I can't help but sigh. It's not like I can exactly refer to something I barely manage as a skill. It's the first try. What were the expectations? That you would just come into the kitchen and suddenly innately be an expert at it? That's not how it works.
しかし、これだけの特訓で食べられるものを作るとは大したものだ。八重垣くんは家では食事を作っていたのかね？
Unless you knew her, you'd think she was being sarcastic. No, I wouldn't think that was sarcastic at all. Not at all. Cooking alongside you was incentive. Oh god, is it another unhinged one? Yes. Yes. I sense that she's being self-deprecating.
うちでは包丁を触らせてもらえませんでしたよ。
Yatsushiro-senpai looks disheartened when she hears that.
うまくいったのは八代先輩と一緒に作れたからです。励みになった。
I try offering her some comfort.
八重垣くん。自分は何というか、どうも考えすぎるたちで、量計算がきっちりできていないとダメなんです。だから正確に調節している間に料理を失敗してしまった。
Yeah, I was about to say, focusing on that too much makes you forget about the bigger picture of what you're trying to obtain. Yep. You get lost in the details.
目分量ではなかったね。
ええ。でも八代先輩を見習って適当な分量でやってみたら成功したんです。
I see, she says, and her flawless silver eyebrows knot. Was my compliment too convoluted?
ソクラテスは考えない生き方を否定した。だが、料理は哲学ではない。
Her cheerful smile back at last. I take a spoonful of her mapo tofu. It's certainly too spicy and she's overdone the garlic. There is no such thing as too much garlic. I refuse. I refuse. No. No. You can always guess the right choice in Été by asking yourself which sounds gayer. Yeah, I guess you're right. It's not necessarily a train of thought that comes to me. I try to think of what would be in character or suitable at that time, but yeah. Right, so, and she's overdone the garlic, but the overall flavor comes down to a personal taste.
ありがとう。
I resist the urge to gulp down some water and flash her my cat-like smile in response.
それでは試食会を始めよう。
With answers like those, Erika's going to join the Astral Express soon. Yeah, it does fit, right? The other cooking club members all voice their agreement to Yatsushiro-senpai's proposition. Everyone samples each other's food and compares, diligently making notes as they go. As I watch them,
八代先輩の手前。
although I somehow managed to put together a successful plate of food, I can only conclude that the idea of having this be my special skill is a non-starter. It appears I don't have a natural aptitude for cooking, and I'm not as passionate about it as the rest of the club members either. What is this expectation of having natural aptitudes? You don't just come out of the womb having aptitudes for everything. You have to also cultivate them a little bit, right? But, I mean, maybe I say that because I personally like cooking, even though for the longest time in my life I didn't know how to do even the most basic things, and then I taught myself. And I didn't do them great in the beginning, but now I think I kind of got it down. And I can adapt to any recipe and stuff, so... In regard to Erika's jokes, maybe it's closer to I probably made them feel that they're overstepping my personal boundaries rather than getting full-on uncomfortable, if that makes sense. Ah, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I see what you mean. You need at least one of the two to really excel.
おいしい。
I guess that's true. If you don't have also an interest, then it's kind of difficult. I suppose so. I let out a small sigh as I bite into the Sichuan-style twice-cooked pork. Oof, that sounds amazing. But at the same time, cooking is like something that everyone should pick up. Because you need to feed yourself. But anyway. I think this is a good point to... sorry, I keep right-clicking, but this doesn't work that way. To make a save and leave it here for today. We've hit the 2.5-hour mark, which is great. Thank you so much for staying here for the whole way through, even though I started a bit later than usual. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, thank you so much for being there. This has been really fun. It's really lifted my spirits and I needed that. Yeah. No. Yeah, it's a new shirt. It has a butterfly. Wait, let me stand up a little bit. I thought it was cool. And it's really comfy. It's one of those kind of oversized ones that they keep making lately. I don't know why suddenly all the clothes are oversized. But I thought they would be super comfy and nice to just wear around the house, so I got a bunch a while ago. And yeah, this is one of them. It's very nice. If you don't learn to cook fast food, and takeout becomes too tempting. You know, it is tempting, right? Because sometimes you don't really feel like cooking, and I have kind of like this thing of like once or twice a week we order food just to chill. And to feel like we're actually taking a break, you know, it usually is Friday and Saturday evenings. So that is nice, you know, to have like for a bit of balance, to not always be cooking and in the kitchen. But just generally, you shouldn't be eating that all the time. you should have a little bit more control over what you consume, right? And you should be able to prepare stuff for yourself. And this is valid for anyone, regardless of being lady or a guy or anything in between. Yeah. The shirt is adorable. Oh, thank you. I also thought it was adorable, and I also like anything that has butterflies. So, yeah, I saw it, I grabbed it. Oh yeah, I could put a Discord invite if there's an interest in that. Everyone should try to learn how to cook pancakes. They're pretty simple to make. Do it for Erika. Yeah, pancakes are really great. They're great. Baking is also something that, I don't know, maybe it seems quite daunting if you've never done it. But as you learn, it is so amazing, and it's so fun to see the result of it. Hmm? Wait, did I share a wrong link? No, I shared an invite link to the server, right? The link is fine, right? I don't remember to check Discord often, but I'd be happy to join. Sure, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's not an open invite because I like to keep the server tiny and cozy, and it's happened in the past that I just leave that link and a lot of like bot accounts join, and like we've had incidents with spams and stuff. So I kind of like just on demand share an invite link here or there. I mean, we talk about other stuff. You're pretty active also in the other gacha games chat. There's like chats about movies, anime. There is some stuff about Mineko as well. I know I also need to post some longer write-ups there that I've been owing you guys for a while. I'm sorry about that. I'll try to get on with that. It was a content warning. Ah, okay. Well, obviously, everyone is free to come and chat in any of the channels wherever your interests lie. And even though maybe you see that there hasn't been a conversation sparked in there in a while, that's not a problem. Just go ahead. We also post a lot of things about food as well. I think that's also been a thing. You share quite a few interesting things about Japan. It's nice. I think it's chill. I love adding red chili flakes to everything I cook. Gotta have that heat. Oh yes, yes, I like that too. I like that too. I absolutely approve of that. Getting one of those how do I call it? I think it's a grinder, right? It's like a jar, but it has like a grinder on the cap, and there's flakes in it, and then you grind a little bit over something. It was life-changing to me when I found that. It's yes, perfect. I can add it in any amount that I want to anything that I want, just like you would do, like pepper or salt. So those three things, salt, pepper, and red flake grinders, are kind of like the go-to basic ingredients that I use in almost everything. Oh, that's so cool. Feel free to share. Feel free to share. A different grinder? I hope I didn't mess up the word, but I think you know what I mean. Not that. Not that for sure. Yeah. Alright. Okay, okie dokes. For me, it's almost midnight, so I will go chill for a little bit before I go to bed. Thank you so much for being here. This has been incredibly fun and exactly the thing I needed to end this day. Take care of yourselves, and we will keep going with this on Thursday. I do love having kitchen grinders for that fresh pepper. Oh yes, fresh pepper always. Absolutely. never in any other form. It is just perfect. Alright. Take care. Night night. Love you all.